Hello everyone, welcome back. I have a tag video for you today. This is the Booktuber Habits Tag created by Mike from Bibliophile Reads, and I saw him do this a couple of days ago and I wanted to do it. So I did it yesterday and it came out to be 34 minutes long, and it was slow as molasses and kind of lots of tangents and very depressing, so I thought I would redo it today. Question number 1. Film in batches or one video at a time? I usually do one video at a time, and that is not my intent usually. I generally come back here with a thought in my head of I'm going to make 2 or 3 videos. That'll make it much easier. I'll do 2 or 3 videos in a row, and then I won't have to worry about them for about a week or so, and I'll just get that out of the way. And instead I come back here and I spew words for about 40 minutes or so, and I am just so happy to have finished the video that I just hop up and I go and I edit it and I upload it and set it to post. And sometimes I have worked in batches, and I really prefer to do it that way. I think it is just that, like I said, I'm just so excited to actually finish the video, because this is not the easiest thing in the world for me. I'm not really a natural at being on camera or anything like that. It doesn't come naturally to me at all. I'm much better at it now than I was when I started. I know more. I know, you learn how to do this over time, but it takes a lot of effort to actually get me in front of the camera, and then to get through maybe the false starts and all that sort of thing, and to actually get a video out. So I'm just usually overjoyed. I'm just usually overjoyed to get out one video, but sometimes I do make multiple videos, and I would really like to have just like one day a week where I sit down and make like 3 or 4 videos, right? And I know some people get they say, well, you are, they think it's less authentic, but this takes a lot of effort. As far as, I wish that I didn't have to edit, for instance, but I do. There are certain things that I have to edit out. Sneezes, coughs, sometimes the dogs will start barking for a long time, or I'll have to get up, or the phone might ring or something like that. And I always edit the beginning and ending of my videos, just because it usually takes me 30, 45 seconds a minute just to get positioned right and that sort of thing. I've gone off on a tangent. Where was I? Oh, anyway, I would prefer to make multiple videos in one day, and oh, I remember. So I just see that as being much easier than making a video, than editing it and then uploading it and then doing that repeatedly throughout the week. Whereas I would really like to just do it maybe once or twice a week, and then have a video, have videos for a week or 2 in advance would be really nice for me. And it would keep this channel more regular. And that's, not for the algorithm or anything like that. It just, I don't like really having this. I make a video and then it's several days, a week before I have another one out. Anyway, we'll just move on. This is like, behind the scenes booktuber stuff. So I guess if you're here watching this, you're interested in how Booktube operates, or you're a booktuber yourself, or maybe you have the desire to make a channel or something like that. So I guess I should go into more depth, not as much depth as I went into yesterday, perhaps. Question number 2, scripted, outlined, or chaotic filming. So I've never worked with a script. I attempted a script one time about 2 or 3 months after I started, just because when I started, I was very, very anxious and having a really hard time of doing this, and I thought that I would try a script, but I just felt so wooden, and it was very apparent that I was reading from a script. If you had like a teleprompter, I guess it would be much easier, but I have notebooks and ink pens, and I never tried it again. I didn't like the way that it felt. I know some people have to use scripts, and that's just fine. I don't see that as being more or less authentic. I think that what is important in a video like this, a booktube video is not so much whether or not you use a script, but your intent, right? Um, because I know a few people who have to use scripts because otherwise they can't. They just can't do this. They just can't get on here and ramble like I can, or like a lot of people can. And it gets easier with practice. But I don't see them as being any less authentic. It's just that they have to overcome that obstacle in a way that I usually don't. That doesn't work for me. I do use outlines sometimes, like when I am talking about books, when I'm doing, specifically when I'm doing like book reviews, if I just do, or well, whatever you want to call them. I don't really think that I do reviews, but videos about books. I will sometimes write down the most important parts that I don't want to forget. And of course, when I'm doing tags, there's always an outline. Um, but mostly it's chaotic. Mostly it is just me turning on the camera and rambling until it comes out right. So there'll be a lot of false starts and that sort of thing, and a lot of tangents that I have to edit out later. But it's almost always just me like turning on the camera and talking. My rambling videos are almost always just me turning on the camera and just saying what's in my mind at that moment. And even when I use an outline for a tag, I don't really write down anything but the questions. Sometimes I will write down like if the tag is like name 3 books, I'll like write down 3 books in red ink or something. But usually it's just me rambling. Question 3: how long do you actually spend filming? So it depends really on the video. Sometimes I'm able to get my point across in 8 minutes, and that's just wonderful. We just crossed the 8-minute line on this video, actually. But usually there's about 5 to 15 minutes that I have to edit out of any video that I film or record or whatever. There's no film involved here, and I'm grateful for that. Film looks like such a hassle. I've been watching a lot of videos about film photography and videography, and it just looks like such a hassle. Beautiful when it's done right and done well, but just such a hassle. So usually, like I said, 5 to 15 minutes, more than what is actually shown on these videos. Question 4: your editing. That is a strange word. Your editing pet peeve. Well, I have several. I think I don't like having to do it at all, but I think that what's most annoying for me is that the software that I use, it's just the free stuff that came with my laptop. Like, it's not the most convenient. It's really for much shorter videos, and sometimes I always start from the end of a video and work my way to the beginning. That is, I have learned to do that, and that made it much, much easier. I don't know if that's how it's normally done. I know nothing about video editing at all. So I've learned that all just by working with the program on my computer. One thing that does annoy me is audio levels. So once I've edited a video and processed it and everything, it will sound different. On my phone, it might sound perfectly fine. On my laptop, it might sound perfectly fine, but if I put it on my television and it comes through my soundbar, it'll be really low audio. And so I almost always boost my audio, and sometimes it's too much and sometimes it's not enough. I wish there was, I'm sure on better programs there is some way to figure out the decibel levels. I don't have that. Question 5: thumbnail struggle or title struggle? I used to struggle with thumbnails really bad just because I would forget to take pictures, and because I'm not really photogenic. I don't find myself photogenic. I'm not a natural at it at all, and I've never really liked having my picture taken. Since I was about 12 or so, I don't like it at all. And it really did frustrate me in the beginning, just to have to pose with the book or whatever. And I dislike the automatic YouTube thumbnail selection so much because they never show me in a very good light. It's been a very rare, and I used to use video captures sometimes, but it's just very rare because I'm so, I'm talking and everything. There's very rarely just a useful picture of me holding up a book smiling or something like that. So I do always take thumbnail pictures now when I remember. And I'm getting better about it. Used to, I would be halfway through editing of it. That is such a strange word, editing. It doesn't sound right in my ears today. Um, but I would get halfway through that process and realize I didn't take any thumbnail pictures. And maybe that was 2 days later or something. And now I look different because maybe my stubble has grown out or something. Or maybe I've cut my hair or whatever. And I have different clothes on. And the clothes I was wearing were in the laundry or something like that. So I've gotten much better about that. Usually I remember as soon as I take my phone off the tripod and I have to put it back on the tripod, and that's a little frustrating. Um, with this video, I'm probably just going to use the thumbnails I took yesterday. Even though it's a different shirt, I don't really care. Uh, I am getting much better about that, I think. But I don't try to make like really interesting thumbnails. I don't really try to. I sort of resent, and even though this is a visual element, a well, YouTube is a visual platform, right? So I know that I should make like really interesting, really popping uh, thumbnails, but I just don't. I just don't want to. I, you know, I take a lot of pictures, and everybody online will say, well, you have to get Lightroom, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to edit your photos. And I do very, very little editing of my photos. I just don't want to. I I just don't want to. I just don't like doing it. I'm perfectly fine when other people do it to an extent, but I just don't want to do it. As for title struggles, I struggle with the title of every video just about, unless it is just completely obvious, like this book by this author. If it is a book haul video or something, it gets really hard to actually think up titles, and I think a lot of people use like AI to dream up titles, however that works, to compute up titles. I have no idea. I've never actually played with AI. I don't have any desire to. Um, I wish I were better at titles. I wish that came more naturally to me. And I used to, when I first started, I would sit down and I would just write out every title idea that I had. And now I just, now I just write something down and go on with my day. Although sometimes it doesn't work out right. And so sometimes if you see me upload a video in the first hour or two, I might change the title 3 or 4 times just as I'm thinking it over. Um, Question number 6. Do stats influence your reading choices? Well, no, they don't. And I think that there are certain books that you can read and make videos about that will be much more popular than, say, the books that I read and talk about. And I think a lot of bookish videos on this platform are geared that direction, geared that way. They are purposefully made to attract an audience. Whereas I don't have any interest really in popular books. I don't really have any interest in, say, reading 100 classics in a row to make videos about them. I might do that for myself, for my own interest. Um, but I am interested in what I am interested in, and no amount of clicks is going to change that. No amount of views, no amount of comments. And I sort of like that about myself. I like that I have resisted that um, siren song, right? Because, say, last year when I made my video, The Outermost House, I got 6,000 views on that in a very short period of time. And I got so many comments. It took me days to respond to all the comments. It's taken me days to respond to the comments I've got recently also, by the way, and I apologize for that. I have been kind of going through a withdrawn phase, I guess, where it's hard for me to figure out how to respond to people right now, but I am working on it, and I apologize for that delay. But my point is that it got me to thinking about how seductive that is, that praise, that attention, and it reminded me of the old days of Rome, right, where the generals would be paraded through town in the triumph, and there would always be someone there to whisper in their ear, "Remember, you are but a man." Something along those lines. Remember, you are but a man, so that they would not confuse themselves with God. And I think a lot of people, that tap something in them, some drive in them, and they, because of the lure of attention, of praise, of money, of not having to go to a regular job every day, um, it goes to their heads. And you can watch this happen in real time. Sometimes you can follow people who start out with a very small channel, and then they get a bunch of views, and then immediately their style changes. They get better equipment. They get the they go out and they buy a bunch of stuff for their backgrounds, and they are just. I'm reading The Lord of the Rings right now, right? And I just finished the chapter where, well, yesterday I finished the chapter where Boromir is overcome by his desire for the ring to save Minas Tirith, to save Gondor, and he tries to take the ring from Frodo. And then I read the chapter today where he is killed by the orcs trying to save Merry and Pippin. And I think that that is I think that is a good analogy for doing this. That that lure of this power, even though it is not a genuine power, it is uh, the lure of gold, right? The lure of attention, and a lot of people fail that way, I think. And I have really gone off the rails here. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody or anything like that. I just think that there is a real hazard, right? It is a siren song, and there are rocks on the shoreline, and you can be swept up into that and crushed upon the rocks, right? You can have an inflated ego. You can start to think that you are some kind of authority, and I have just really liked knowing that I can resist that, knowing that I'm not going to let that bother me. I think that is something that you can take with you the rest of your life. Anyway, I don't know if I really answered that question. Do stats influence your reading choices? I don't let them. And the thing is, when I started this channel, one of the things, I had a few rules. I made a few rules. One of which was that if this channel started to change my reading, I would delete my channel. I would quit. If I let what people were telling me in the comments change the way I was reading, if I let views change the way I was reading, if I let subscriber numbers change the way that I was reading, then I would quit. And I am still here because I haven't allowed that to happen. And the only way that I can really think that my reading has changed is that I have slowed down a great deal, because instead of just reading books purely for myself, where I can just tear through them, having to talk about them on video, I have to think about them. I have to take notes on them and that sort of thing. I have to sort of memorize parts of them so that I can talk to you about them. And I think that that has actually been a really good thing for me, because it's forced me to slow down. Um, that's really the only way that this has changed my reading, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with slowing down. I think I prefer it this way, actually. Question number 7. Most refilmed video ever. I have had to refilm several videos several times. Um, One that was hardest for me, and this doesn't really fit because it wasn't really most refilmed, as in I didn't have to start the video over and over again, really, but it was just the number of times that I had to restart what I was saying, to just go back and start over again and again and again, and it didn't turn out well at all. And I didn't even really want to release that video. I was embarrassed by it, but the interesting thing about making videos is because you can edit all of that, all the hard stuff, all the tearing your hair out, mistakes, they don't get seen. And that video was about almost, let's see, a year and a half ago, I guess. It was a couple of months after I started my channel, I think 3 months after I started. And the books were The Four Feathers, the there was a Star Wars novel, Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, and The Antichrist by Friedrich Nietzsche. I think there may have been one more, but I think those are the four that I remember specifically in that video. And because these are chaotic videos, right, where I didn't have an outline at all. And this is really what taught me that I needed to take notes and that I needed sometimes to have an outline, was that that was just such a hard video to get through, and I had to start over and over and over, and I feel like the final outcome of that video was not very good at all, because all I saw in it was failure. I didn't describe those books well enough. I didn't go over those books well enough. What I had to say about the Antichrist was just a complete cop-out, because I was just so worn down by the time I got to it, and everything I said about it just sounded stupid, and I was thinking about how dumb that I must have sounded, so I just kind of glossed over those books. And The Four Feathers, I think I went way too in-depth about the plot. I hadn't quite realized at that time what a booktube video for me should be. I hadn't realized what it was that I was really trying to do. I hadn't grasped the essence of this for myself at the time, and so I didn't have a real idea of what I was trying to do. I was just getting in front of the camera and yapping about books, and that was not working out for me because my memory is not all that good. My skills on camera at that time were not nearly as good as they are now, and they're still not great. But that was the one. That was the video that really bothered me, and I wound up having to go back and remake a video about, or make a separate video about Kitchen Confidential, because when I watched that video, I realized that basically I had just talked about Anthony Bourdain and how much his shows had meant to me and how much his book had meant to me when I was younger. And so I had to actually go back and actually talk about the book, and I think that was sort of a moment that meant a lot too, because it helped me realize that I was here to talk about books. You can talk about other things all you want in the context of your videos, but when you are making booktube videos, you need to talk about the book itself, and I think that taught me quite a lot. So even though it was awful and dreadful and I hated it and I was not happy with the final product, it taught me a lot. Question number 8, your comfort video format. Now, from what I understand, this question is in which way are we most comfortable being on camera? Like, what background do we want? How do we want everything set up, right? What is the most comfortable way of filming? What is the easiest way of filming? And for me, I think it's my back porch videos that are my most comfortable format, because I don't really worry about the lighting or anything like that. I don't worry so much about the background. I'm usually just sitting out there with my dogs, and I get an idea in my head, and I come in here and grab the tripod, and I just start filming. And that is easiest for me. Those videos don't always get uploaded, because sometimes when I watch them back, they are too angry or too depressing, or there are too many tangents, or I sometimes will make a video just as a cathartic exercise, just to if I'm angry, I will just spew it onto the camera. I will just let everything out in a video. And if I am depressed or something, I will just, if something in the booktube world has annoyed me, something in a book has annoyed me, I'll just spew it all out on the camera. But you will never see those videos, because I sort of think of it. I made a video about a year ago about how I used to write letters that I would never send and just say all kinds of things to somebody in this letter and then just either just hide it away or burn it or throw it away. That's kind of how I look at those videos. But some of those, just turning on the camera and talking, I think are some of my best videos, even though some of them when I first started were not quite good because I was just holding the camera and, it's bouncing around and everything. Um, but those are probably the easiest for me to film and the most enjoyable, really. Although I can do that in here too, and I sometimes do it over here on the couch. Really, the most uncomfortable videos for me are book hauls. I don't really I like to watch other people's book hauls, but I question sometimes why I am making a book haul because if I just hold up a book that I haven't read before, um, yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth about book hauls, whether or not to film them. Okay, so that is it, and 28 minutes, 28 minutes. So I didn't really improve on yesterday's time at all. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank Mike for creating this tag, and I'll see you next time.